Well, hello and welcome to the Shifting Realities podcast. I'm your host, Julie Allison, and with me is my co host and friend, Robert Perry. In today's podcast, we're going to talk about sound and how sound and sound waves affect us. And we're going to try and bring it through into how we can use it to shift our reality. So I will let Rob start because Rob's got some fascinating information that he's shared with me, and I was just blown away by the things he knew. So I'll let you start, Rob, with all that you know about sound.
All right, thank you, Julie. Please interrupt me and ask me to clarify
Mhm.
things or make it easier to understand, and don't let me waffle on too much about
I won't
music
do.
in inverted commas. um, I think we mentioned on last week, but didn't go into any particular detail about. I guess you might call this the history of sound in the Western world. So many centuries ago, so say around 900, 1000, we were using the solfeggio. Now, the solfeggio sounds grand. We still use it today. We call it solfège or tonic solfa, and it's used for teaching people who aren't able to read music quite commonly. But the original solfeggio is a six-note octave, for want of a better word. Nobody called it an octave then. And subsequently, three more tones have been discovered, one lower and two higher. And the point of solfeggio was that it was much more natural than music making is today, and that people sang or made sounds with whatever they were working with instrumentally that were closely embedded into world vibration. So the lower tones were grounding, the middle tones were healing, and the higher tones were spiritual connection. And it's not that we've lost that today. There's lots of wonderful conspiracy theories around what happened to solfeggio and why did we adopt the modern octave system, which isn't modern at all. They're fundamentally the same thing, but the octave system is, I guess, a cleaning up of the solfeggio for modern purposes. So it's an easier system, it's a teachable system, it's a mathematical system, and it sort of has taken the edge off what is the natural solfeggio tones. So you
Seems to be,
can take,
yeah.
go on, Julie.
I was going to say, yeah, because there is a
Yeah,
lot of, let's say, conspiracy theories or theories around that
yeah,
things have changed, and the notes that were, and this is me not knowing anything about music, but the notes where, like you say, the fascinating thing was it matched the Earth's, pulsation and
yeah.
frequencies. And what people are saying now is the tones, as I want to call them, the musical notes, are now and the basic frequency are not matching the Earth's tones, and what people are saying is that will be affecting our bodies. But is that actually true, or is it just the fact that you could possibly have any frequency and it could in music and it can mean many things even at a similar sort of level?
It's true and it's not true. I do
Okay.
think that going back to the original solfeggio tones is the most in tune you can be with your own
Right.
resonance or our own resonances.
Mhm.
It's not that listening to music today, which might be just a fraction off, is going to do you
Mm.
any particular harm. You know,
Okay, I think that's
it's
what a
just
lot of people are
it's
wondering about.
I think so. It's just not necessarily going to heal you in the same way. And
Mm.
conspiracy theories aside, and you can all believe what you want to believe. That's fine.
Hmm.
The modern music system, the octave that we work in now, so A to G, A to G, A to G, simply derived as music developed. New instruments were invented. Music came out of churches into performance spaces. Performance spaces got bigger, orchestras formed and then became larger and larger and larger. The human voice had to cope singing over that music, over that sort of massive orchestral sound into a bigger space, and tuning changed. And then, of course, the game changer really was the last century with the advent of recording. So you could record something and you would absolutely be singing and playing in your natural resonance as you thought. But by the time the recording had put that down and been issued, there was a slight shift in the hertz, the frequency. And then, many recordings today are reissued, remastered, whether you're Maria Callas or Elvis Presley, you get reissued every time you have an anniversary of some sort. And every time the frequency changes again slightly, because we've gone from an old 33 revolutions a minute record to a long playing record to a compact disc to a Blu-ray to whatever, and now streaming. So every time it changes. But interestingly, in sort of the serious music world that I come from, in terms of recording, there's a big move now to correct frequency.
Oh, that's so
So,
interesting. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so, recordings made in the 40s, 50s, 60s, which have now lost their frequency, are being restored and reissued at correct frequency, or as near as they can get it. Yeah, that said, that is still an octave frequency. It's not solfeggio,
Mm. Can you
but it's
just
better.
explain a slight difference for anybody that doesn't understand that part of it?
Yeah, I mean, if the solfeggio is a system of, we'll stick with the original 6 solfeggio notes
Yes.
that align kind of with your chakras. So the lower notes ground you, middle notes are about your body and healing and your emotions, and the top notes are about connecting to spirit. Modern octaves, which are 8 notes, don't have that connection. They're simply a mathematical function to create musical sound. So it's by going back to the original notes, and
Mm.
they're not miles off the notes we use now. Of course they're not, because we can only make a certain range of sounds.
Of course.
They're
Yeah.
just not absolutely in kilter with those old ones. So if you were to listen to a recording of Gregorian chant, say, you would hear solfeggio, the range of solfeggio.
Mm-hmm.
But you would hear it from the perspective of recording, so that would click it slightly out again. But if you were to go into a cathedral where someone might be performing some Gregorian chant, you will hear correct solfeggio singing. And it's extraordinary because you will find some people really respond to it strongly, and there's a kind of ecstasy in it that comes without effort. So it's the
Yeah.
blending of those 6 and then subsequent 3 notes that creates the most extraordinary feeling. And obviously, in terms of the old chanting, it was connection to spirit more than anything else. They were trying to connect to God, and they were trying to connect their audience / congregation to God. And you can take that way back. You can take it back to an Egyptian temple, where we might find their music now slightly jarring because of the range of instruments, and their concept of music might not match our concept of music, but they're doing exactly the same thing. They're using sound to connect. And we do the same. We people make huge jokes about people sitting in the lotus position chanting om, but that is exactly that. That is an attempt to hit the sound of God, so that you connect directly to the all that is the one spirit, whatever you choose to call that spirit. That's what you're
And
trying to do when you do om, which in Western tradition becomes amen and becomes aum in Egypt. It's got a sound everywhere.
oh, that's
You know,
so fascinating that,
yeah,
that connection. And it also means, Rob, that anybody
yeah.
can do that. Anybody can sit and go in their way and
They
do
can.
that
I would
connection
urge,
and get them to feel what that feels like, what that really is
absolutely,
like.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Every human being, every sentient being has their own resonance. And I would urge
Mm.
everybody who's listening to this to find their resonance. And it's really, really, really simple. If you sit up straight or stand straight, and you put your hand on your diaphragm, which is the base
Mm-hmm.
of your rib cage, and you put your other hand flat at exactly that point on your back, and you start to
Ah.
hum a low pitch, and then let your humming rise. You don't have to sing. This is just about making a noise and humming. When you get strong vibration on both hands, you've hit your resonance, and you
Wow.
feel it instantly. It's really, really clear. I mean, really clear. You go, oh, wow, that's it. And then you learn and you hear, oh, that's where I resonate. And then you will start to pick up sounds that match you.
Oh, that's amazing.
You know,
I did
if
not
that
know
makes any
that.
sense. Yeah.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
I think last week I said I picked up my singing bowl and struck it and said, I've created a sound here.
Hmm.
And I know how to use this bowl at my
Mm-hmm.
resonance, but I can also make it not my resonance by not striking it correctly. So we're all the same. We all have sounds that we like and don't like. I love the sound
Yes.
of a lawnmower, bizarrely. I hate the sound of a tree saw.
Yes, I hate the sound
You
of,
know?
like, the low vibrational drilling, something outside. I
Yeah.
don't like lawnmowers. They feel like they're too
Yeah.
low for me, yet
Okay.
somebody else
Fine.
would like this. Oh, yeah, definitely
Absolutely.
as well. I'm with you with a hedge
Yeah.
trimmer. It really
Yeah.
grates on me, and there's a lot of
Absolutely.
hedge trimmers around us, and I thought it was
Yeah.
fascinating.
Here too. Yeah.
Things like my husband has motorbikes, and some of those, yeah, really not a good sound. It's not
Yeah.
even the loudness, it's the fact that they just feel
The
like they're too
it's the f-
low for
it's
me.
the frequency.
That's right,
Absolutely.
right.
We all have a circle of acquaintances, colleagues, whatever, and there'll be some people whose voice grates on you.
Yes,
And
yeah.
there's nothing wrong in it. You don't mean anything by it. It's just they don't resonate with you because when you voice something, whether you sing it or speak
Mm,
it, that is your soul's communication directly.
mm,
Your voice
yeah.
is your soul, is the expression of your soul. So, you just might not be connecting with that person. And that's not a bad thing or a good thing. It's just a thing.
Mhm,
You don't have to avoid them. You just have to recognize that I don't quite connect with you. And when you get
mm.
into the world I come from, which is sort of high level singing, or even not high level singing sometimes, there's this whole partisan groups about, oh, I hate that singer, I can't stand that singer, but I worship this singer. And it's all to do with vibration. You can sit in an opera house or a concert hall and just be sucker punched by the resonance that matches you, and you just get taken somewhere immensely spiritual in a flash. You can also sit in that concert hall and go, when will this end? Because the resonance isn't working for you. So sound, we all make sound, and we all can find each other with sound. We can find our tribe with sound, and we can find it's part, we talk about going within and finding what is our purpose and how do we achieve that purpose, and we find that within ourselves. So sound is for me the way we externalize it and attract. Make any sense at all?
Again,
Yeah.
as soon as you said
Yeah.
that, that did, when we talk about resonance, that really resonated with me, but not something I'd thought of before, about finding your tribe
Yeah.
through let's say the art of sound, through the
Exactly.
frequency, and finding your tribe, not somebody else's tribe,
Yeah.
the people that resonate with you. It's like why we would, when you work with somebody through your business, it's not that somebody's better than you or worse than you, it's that you feel there's something there already. It's through that
Yeah.
resonance, that you feel that, yeah, this person can really help me, and it's all through the things, it's almost like not even the words they say, but almost the tone and how it's said, and yeah, something
Yeah.
that really attracts you. It's going to either attract you or not attract.
Yeah.
And although words we talked about, definitely words have meanings behind them, but sometimes you're not listening to the words, but you're listening more to the turning, is what I would class it as, more to the, sort of how somebody, the frequency. And I think that's what, I can't put into words what you've just, all these
Yeah.
things that you've just said to me. So that sounds fascinating, that, that because there's a lot of things now where we're needing to find our tribe. There's still a lot of people who feel like they're almost like, well, I'm going to say, because I felt it before, like an outcast, like you're on the outside
Yeah.
looking in, and it's just because you've chosen a family that are not quite on, let's call it your wavelength, on your sound
Well,
wavelength.
it,
You're
it is
needing
your
to
wavelength.
find, is
That's
that right?
perfectly put. Yes. Perfectly put.
And it's
Yeah.
not that you don't love your family, and it's not that you're
Yeah.
not getting on with them, but you're needing to find those people that light you up, that absolutely using the turns will sort of give you that, beautiful, healing is all sorts of things. Because I was going to bring it into, well, how can we use sound for our healing? But
Yeah.
even just, as I know, I'm going to meet a friend later on. I know we will just never stop talking, and that we'll both light each other up,
Yes. Yes.
with this, with what we're saying. Rather than meeting somebody that you think, oh god, this is going to drain me, and you think, that kind of that resonance just isn't part of you at all.
Yeah.
Um, and so here we go with healing. It's not just about healing in the physical sense, in that sort of, I want to heal the body, but it's all round, it's healing your life in general, isn't it? Shifting your reality into something, into meeting people that you want to be with, and that will
Yeah.
start changing your life as well, won't it?
Well,
Shift you
yeah.
into a different reality.
I
Yeah.
mean, Julie, there you go. Case in point, you're meeting a friend this afternoon, and you know it will just be fun and will take off
Mm.
because well, you didn't know, or perhaps you realize that your resonances match. So what's
Yes.
the
Yeah.
result of that is you're going to have a lovely afternoon feeling good.
Yeah.
That is healing.
Yes.
Immediately, that will
Exactly.
cause you to heal whatever needs to
Yes.
heal in a small way.
Yes.
We're just talking a small thing.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
Sitting quietly and, as we said earlier, finding your own resonance and then experimenting with it and
Mm.
actually using sound privately behind a closed door if you don't want to make an absolute idiot of yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just play with sound and
Definitely.
hear it. You will feel and hear it connect.
Mm.
What to? You can decide. You and I work with guides from all sorts of
Mm-hmm.
dimensions and
Yeah.
realms, and we can attract them with sound, and they can attract us with sound. We communicate with sound with them. It might be telepathic, but we communicate through
Exactly. Mm.
an understandable language at a resonant pitch that we both can manage. So
Yes, we
in
understand
terms of,
that.
when I,
Yeah.
yeah, so, as we're talking about finding your tribe because you might
Mm.
have a sound resonance that will attract.
Mm.
We can adjust our resonance and we can learn to match our resonances if we want to. So,
Mm.
everyone says a marriage is, a long journey and it's about compromise. You know, let's assume that you marry someone whose resonance matches with yours reasonably well. You know,
Yes.
you spend your life tuning yourselves to each other in
Mm.
sound terms without knowing you're doing it, so that your life is more
Mm.
and more harmonious. And when you
Yeah.
you don't tune and your life becomes less harmonious, that's when you're likely not to stay together.
Yeah.
You know,
And that almost feels like, and it just is. It's not a
yeah,
good or bad or right or
it
wrong.
just
That
is.
just is. And
Exactly
how,
so.
again, how
And
you
that person will have come into your life for some other reason
Mhm.
and will
Mm.
leave your life for another reason.
Yeah.
Absolutely fine.
Contracted. Hmm.
Yeah, we
And
don't hold,
it will
it's
all be
about not
good.
holding on.
Yes,
Yeah,
if it's not resonating and keeping and holding on to the past. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, strangely
yeah,
enough, this is a little bit going off sound, but
yeah,
going into I think sound. The reason myself and Rob have looked into this every time we go into a podcast, we've looked into it before of what we want to share with people, and
yeah,
it feels so much like sound. It's going to be the new black as we, in some of our world.
yeah,
It's going to be so important for us to move and shift ourselves forward. I feel like, I don't know about Robert, that well, they when I got the prediction from the guides that we're going into a higher octave of frequency,
yeah,
not that I can you confess to say I know all about that, but it's as if when you go into a higher octave of frequency, it's not going to be beneficial, or there is no point going down and starting to look back. And strangely enough, I think it was so that I could observe it, view it, and go, that's interesting. I was hearing a conversation online about, say, where it said where people wanted, they said, oh, it's not the same since before 2020 lockdown,
right.
nothing's the
Yeah,
same, as if it's a
it
bad
surely isn't.
thing. And this is
Yeah,
where we're creatures of habit and we don't embrace change. But this is where myself and Rob, we're talking about shifting realities, which means you need to embrace change. Shifting realities does not mean you sit there in the same place as you were 10, 20 years
yeah,
ago and think that everything's going to fall into place in the life you want. No, it does mean that we need to do something about it, whatever that thing is. It's not always about doing in the way of like making it feel like hard work or anything, but we need to, there's lots of things we need to do. It might be meeting, like we've just said, meeting new people. So that, because when you meet somebody, before you meet them, it's not always whether that you're part of their tribe or they're part of you
yeah,
until you meet them. But you've just got to go out and do that, and do that thing. And so I think it is totally about understanding that we have to drop away the past, that we can't go
Yeah.
always, it's not like, I'm glad it's not like before, lockdown, and
So am I. Yeah.
everything's shifting so quickly.
Yeah.
To be honest, this feels such an exciting time that we're here in this, in this lifetime at at this precise moment in time. It feels very exciting. And it will have to be where the old resonance is going to fall. The old, the sort of, I'm going to say the lower octaves, if
Yeah.
that's how we understand it, if that's my understanding, they will have to drop away. Things have to drop away and dissolve and disappear in order to continue to live in the life. If you want a life of peace, joy, happiness, etc., you can't do that and still hold on to a life of seeing, struggling,
Yeah.
and all the
Yeah.
things that we're seeing at the moment in our lifetime. So we've got to embrace the new. And yes, it does feel like, we're talking about sound because it feels like everything's getting higher and higher with a frequency getting higher. That
Yeah.
means, the sounds we will, to be more prevalent in terms of understanding how it's going to be used for all sorts of healing. Don't you think, Rob, with even
Oh,
just
without any
using
question, Jilly.
sounds,
Yeah.
yeah, for
Yeah.
like
I mean,
healing, like the
there's
chakras.
a huge rise now in sound healing as a profession. People really
Yeah,
studying how sound can work
yeah.
for you and how sound can heal you,
Mm, mm,
spiritually, mentally, physically, in every sense, so holistically.
mm,
I'll backtrack slightly on what you just said because I agree and I don't agree with one thing.
mm.
And I think it's just a semantic issue. The lower frequencies are never going to go away because they need to ground us.
Yeah.
But we as humans can currently hear within a certain range of hertz, which is how we measure frequency. So we can hear from 20 to 2000
Oh,
on
wow.
average.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's a wide range. So we can hear
Mm.
the 9 solfeggio notes that we have written down or understood. We can hear, but there are lower tones and there are higher tones that we cannot hear. And I think we said in the
Yes.
last podcast, animals can hear a higher
Yes.
solfeggio tone than we can. And as the earth moves into its new reality and we move with it, we will move into those tones. We'll be able to hear those tones, and those tones will connect us to other dimensions more easily. You and I can work at getting to those dimensions by working on our own frequency, but
Mm.
this will become a common thing for everybody that isn't even
Hmm.
thought of. We simply will all be able to do that as if it was normal, as it will be normal.
That's a much better
Uh,
way of explaining things, Rob. Much better way. Yeah.
it's the
And
same thing you were saying
absolutely.
with a
Yeah.
yeah. I don't agree with the lower frequencies falling because if they
Falling
do,
apart. Yeah.
we'll all float away and go mad.
Yes, I do.
You know,
Yes, I understand that. Yeah, completely. Yeah.
yeah,
I think
yeah,
what was I trying to say? So it's maybe more the understanding of not being so prevalent in fear, like the low frequencies that would match,
yeah.
let's
I
say,
completely understand
fear
what you were saying. Yeah,
more
completely
than
understand it.
notes. But I do
Yeah,
agree, yeah, we do understand, everything is also about grounding. People, again, people, want to connect with all the guides, with, we work with, how we understand now of galactics. They're
yeah,
all like kind of higher than us. But yes, we absolutely need to always, always be with the grounding and grounding notes and turns as well. Yeah.
absolutely. We
Yeah.
chose to walk an Earth path,
Yes.
so here we
We
are all on Earth.
must.
So we really need to stay grounded in it or
Yeah.
on it, whichever you
Yeah.
choose, because we need to be stable.
Yeah, definitely.
And
Yeah.
our next time round might be in a whole different frequency range, and
Yeah.
we'll have its own set of rules and regulations. But we
Yeah.
do need to be careful not to let go of that. You know,
Yes.
it's
Yes. Yeah, I think there's a lot more to come, isn't there, Rob, with what the guides or, how the planet's going to shift in its, in frequency, and how then the guides will explain things to us and how we'll understand
yeah,
how tones and, music, notes, and how sound will help us even more. We'll really, be able to help
absolutely,
us a lot more. I think there's
absolutely.
a lot more to
So
come.
yeah, something to mention as well, and it's sort of on the fringes of our thinking now. Less and less on the fringes, but for most people still it's a bit out there, is living near electricity pylons, for example, living near wind
Mm.
farms. These are making sounds that resonate at something we are not attuned to.
Ah,
So if you live
right.
near an electricity pylon, apart from the fact that you're living near electricity, which is going to impact you,
Mm.
it is making a sound that is constant in your life that is not in tune with you. Now, I'm
Ah.
not suggesting people go out and tune into their local electricity pylon have a better life. I'm suggesting they perhaps try not to live next to an electricity pylon.
Right.
But there is a
Yes.
constant high pitch off an electricity pylon. There is a
Ah.
constant high pitch off a wind farm or a windmill that
Yes.
can be
Yes.
very jarring for the human soul and
Hmm.
causes people illness.
Yes, I have
Yeah,
heard about this. Yes.
I think there's a lot of discussion about it, and one shouldn't be alarmist about it because a wind farm is a viable way of creating energy for ourselves
Mm.
that is much less harmful to the earth, and that's something we need to do. But we also need to, I think, understand a lot more how it impacts people
Mm.
or life, because it impacts birds
Yeah,
and impacts animals,
that's
impacts
it.
plants, everything.
Yeah.
It just is enough to shake your vibration. Yeah, and we
Wow.
vibrate at every single level, and the minute your vibration is out of kilter, then you can become ill.
Hmm.
So that's not the happiest thing to say in this
I know.
podcast, but I think people should just be aware this
Yes.
is
Yes.
potentially an issue. And I don't doubt there will be solutions. Electricity pylons will cease to be one day,
Mm-hmm.
and wind farms will probably cease to be one day, but there's a century or so of them left that we
Yeah,
have to
in our
find
lifetime.
a way through.
Yeah,
Yeah,
in our lifetimes, maybe there's a way of overcoming something. It's very difficult because again, in this world, yeah, I've heard of that. I mean, obviously there's the talk about the Wi-Fi and that can have an
5G.
impact on
Yeah,
us. 5G,
absolutely.
sorry,
Yeah,
yeah, in
yeah.
total.
No, no, same. Yeah,
And we'll be going up to whatever 6G. So, 5G isn't where it's going to
yeah.
end, is it? It's going to go, sort of different,
Of course it
different
is.
ones
And
higher and
these are
higher.
frequencies.
Mm,
And although you
mm.
can't hear 5G, it
Yeah.
is making a sound.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I'm not alarmist about it. I don't think we're all going to drop down.
Mm.
My
Mm.
phone picks up with 5G every time my Wi-Fi drops out, and so be it. I don't
Yes.
feel I don't feel any the worse for it, but I think if I was exposed to it continually and I lived next to a pylon with a wind farm over the hill, I might start to feel a bit
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
So it's just, be aware, folks.
Yeah. It
And
is awareness. Mm.
yeah, absolutely. And if you can go back to that, find your own resonance as near as you can, understand what sounds are attractive to you and what sounds are not attractive to you, and bring the attractive ones into your life. So
Yeah.
listen to the music that really connects with you. Cut out people whose sound does not resonate with you at all. Let those people go to a degree if you can,
Yeah. Mm.
and just import to yourself positive resonance. Easy.
It sounds so easy.
Yeah, the
That's
practice of
good.
it
Yeah.
is easy, but in reality, in our life and the busyness of our lives and what we have to do, it's not easy. I appreciate that. So just try, and change a bit,
Yeah. Just
you know.
do some things. Yeah, there's maybe things that are possible to do to overcome, the sort of this, the lifestyle we have now, because things like 5G, there's bad bits about it, but then there's also the good things of how people are connecting. So there's good and bad. It's just, yes, I
Absolutely.
do agree that, yeah, there's, maybe there are different ways, maybe there are other ways that
Yeah.
somebody
Do you know
can
what
go
I'd say to
about it.
people?
Maybe there are.
And you're a massage therapist, I
Mm,
love a massage. I think it's just the
mm.
most wonderful thing to have, and frankly, it should be on the NHS weekly.
Yes, I
But
agree.
if you like going for massages, maybe one month don't go for a massage, go to a sound therapist.
Yes, yes.
So switch
Do
your
something
budget,
different.
if you can afford both, lovely. Try a sound therapist. You
Yeah.
know, if you've got a tenner spare, find someone around you who's doing a gong bath, which is this
Yes,
big
yes.
immersive sound experience which you share with other people, and just try how sound can affect you. I think I said last week,
Yeah.
Julie, that one of the interesting things as a sound experiment is, if you can, is to listen to a film without the score.
Ah,
So, in
yes.
other words, as if you were listening to a play on the stage.
Yeah.
And if you listen to that film without the music, you will find yourself relatively unmoved. because the music score under any film is there to manipulate you into the meaning of the film and what they want you to take away, the feel-good
Yeah.
factor, the fear, whatever. So if you've got someone coming through the door with an axe and you know you're in trouble and there's going to be blood, what's actually scaring you is not that image or the text, it is the discord music that the composer has very cleverly put under that scene, which immediately makes you go, oh, something's going to happen scary.
Yeah, it's
You
that
know,
preconception, isn't it, of
yeah,
what's about to happen, and then the thing that
absolutely.
happens
So it's just
probably is not as bad as the,
exactly, or
the
even if
sort
it
of
is, you'll go, oh, as opposed to
was that
screaming
it?
and throwing
Was
your
that it?
popcorn on the ceiling.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's another way of
Wow.
understanding how sound impacts. And I'm not
Yeah.
knocking film composers
No,
are
that's
great
how it
choice of
does. That's
people,
how they want to
and
do it.
they're clever people.
Mm.
But it's really interesting that we are manipulated on every level by sound. So if
Yes,
you live on
we
a
are.
busy road, that sound gets to you after a while.
Yes,
Some
yes.
people move into the countryside and go, I can't stand the silence.
Exactly.
We're
Yeah,
all
I've
we're
heard of
all
that.
different. Yeah.
Yeah.
So find your own place.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely
Yeah.
about finding, if you're not, it's that thing, if you're not happy with that part of you, with something like living on a road or living in a city or living in the country, have a look at doing something else, about it and
Absolutely.
see what
Yes.
else you can do. But as Rob said, it's lovely with sound. There's so much you can trial and error, and you can do it all for free, can't you? It's not like you have to go. You can
Yeah.
go to sound baths. You
Yeah.
can go to somebody who wants to, a sound therapist. But it's likely now that you'll know somebody who, a friend who is one, or you can practice together and see what you can, see what you
Yeah.
can come up with sound. I know
All
people near
sorts you can
me,
do. Yeah.
yeah, they're doing drumming. They just go up together and do, like the little drumming with the little little skin drums, things like that. They're
Yeah.
not really
Yeah.
things that they've even made up themselves, and it's just to get together and have a look, have a trial and error of what things can sound like
Absolutely.
and help.
You can
Yeah.
quite easily find a drumming workshop these days, and they are
Yeah,
just the most amazing thing.
they're brilliant,
The
aren't they?
first
Yeah.
time I went to one, I was absolutely terrified. I thought, I've got no rhythm. I'm not going to be any good at this. By the end of it, you couldn't stop me.
Yes,
It's
yes,
absolutely thrilling if
exactly.
you let yourself go.
Yeah,
And what it does to your vibration is just incredible.
amazing. Yeah,
Really incredible.
yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
that,
I've
when I said
I've
you can
heard.
learn to
Yeah.
connect to people, you can learn to
Yes.
adapt your resonance to people. When you drum, you bring your resonance together.
Wow.
It's
Oh,
extraordinary,
wow.
and I would urge anybody to have a go if they
Yeah,
have a chance.
yeah. So there we have it. We've given you, we've told you everything about it that we know so far, and we've given you some ideas of how to go out and change your resonance if it's not quite how you feel it should be, and to do some experiments with your own resonance field and your own tones. We all need to go back to our what I'd class as our sovereign tones, and not all these tones that are sort of coming into us, being imprinted on us. It's another way of, shedding all that we don't want and bringing through all that we do want. So thank you, Rob, for that, for those insights. Absolutely amazing. I, for one, I'm going to go
Yeah.
away, start a bit of
And have a
practicing
go.
myself and have a
Good for you.
go.
Good for
Yes,
you. Let
yes.
me just bring it back to the basics,
Mm,
though. Why does this all matter? It's
mm,
because we vibrate. Every atom and part of the atom that makes us up and makes up every cell we have is vibrating and making a sound. And that is why sound matters to us. So your resonance is your personal vibration,
mm.
and that's how you understand other people and other life, and how you connect to spirit. It's your vibration. So bring it back to your very, very, very smallest basic.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much, Rob. So many insights there, and things, really things I was learning from this, from this podcast, from what you were saying,
Yeah.
definitely. And I do hope everybody can go in and do something with this. Just let us know, let us know, give us some feedback on,
Would be really
how
interesting to hear.
this,
Yeah.
yeah, and how this podcast was for you, and what you've gone away and done, and how it's
Yeah.
affected you.
How
So
does
good.
sound
Oh,
impact you in your everyday? What
yeah.
bothers you and what's good for you? How
Mm,
do you have
mm.
means of getting around it?
Yes. Yeah.
You'll have things we don't know about.
Interesting.
So,
Yes, everybody
yeah,
will. Yes.
yeah,
Everyone
yeah.
will. Yeah, definitely.
Right.
Lovely. Thank you so much,
Th-
Rob. That's
Thank
great. I
you.
think
Yes.
that's wonderful, wonderful podcast, and yeah, and great enough for today. So I think that's a wrap. Thank you,
Excellent.
everybody, for listening, and we'll see you in the next podcast. Goodbye for
Indeed. Bye.
now.